What is up, lovely people? Welcome back to Blueprint Japan. I would like to welcome you to this new series where I sit down with people in my network who really amaze me, inspire me, and not only because of what they do, but also how they do it, and also because of their personalities. And so today's guest is Anthony Griffin. He's a coach, a marketing expert, an entrepreneur, or solo entrepreneur, I have to say, who has carved out his own path in Japan for many, many years, going on 17. And we talk about what it really takes to build a business abroad, navigating Japan's unique business culture, and the power of relationships. And so whether you are freelancing, building your own business, or you are just curious about solo entrepreneurship in Japan, there's something in this conversation for you, I promise. And yeah, this episode is sponsored by Saga Consulting, a Tokyo-based brand that helps Japanese companies and professionals communicate more effectively with global audiences. Founded by today's guest, Anthony Griffin, M.B.A., Saga specializes in cross-cultural communication training and digital marketing services, all designed to support long-term international growth. I've had the chance to both work for and collaborate with Saga Consulting, and I can honestly say their attention to detail, consistency, and thoughtful approach make them a true asset to any business aiming to go global. To learn more and also to read one of my blog articles, visit consultsaga.com. That is consultsaga.com. Anthony, thanks for joining again.
Thanks for having me once again. I hope you're not bored of me yet.
Well, not yet.
Okay, not yet. No. Okay,
I'm kidding, obviously. People love listening to you. Multiple people going like, hey, I didn't know you guys were connected. I like listening to Anthony. Great soul, great person. And so I'm giving you this open feedback.
I appreciate it. This is too kind. I'll try to hang around as long as I'm useful.
Thank you.
No, yeah, sure.
And yeah, a lot of things to catch up. Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, I missed it. How was it for you? What was new? What was happening?
Wow. Well, from an operational standpoint, this was probably the best one that I've been to. I've attended in two capacities over the decade or and a half or so since I've been around. And originally, before I worked for myself, I had to attend, in the general population days. That was fun the first time, just to see the hype and check that off of my bucket list as a fan. But it's incredibly crowded. It's a labor of love. So I did that 2 or 3 times. After that, the industry shifted towards mobile gaming, which I'm not into. And so I stopped going. And then once the industry righted itself, in my opinion, and got back to proper gaming, then I thought, okay, I'm self-employed. I run Saga Consulting. I write about the industry. I love the industry. Let me see if I can go as a business. And so for the past few years, I've been attending on the business days, which are much better, but they were still kind of chaotic. But this year, they introduced a new system where you can go directly to the games that you want to play and get a ticket, and then come back at your designated time, and you don't have to wait in a long line. So if you're strategic about it, it was possible to see a lot more games and meet a lot more people than before. That being said, I didn't really know about that system. So I didn't get too many tickets. But what I did realize is, just by talking to people, preferably in Japanese, and asking about the system, asking about the game, a lot of the booths had these kind of, how do I say it, like waiting list areas. So if people didn't show up, they had an area on the side where you could wait and get in when there was a no-show. And even though you had to wait, the waits were much shorter than years before. So I really thought it was better organized. Another reason I enjoyed this year's show is I kind of networked with a different group. Using the business matching system,
Yep.
I ended up being connected with a lot of localizers and translators. So I met a lot of people in that industry, and the community is just very vibrant.
Mhm.
There was a meetup just outside of the main hallways. So I think I exchanged more business cards this time than ever before. So um, that's kind of the business side of it, I guess. Overall, I thought from a gaming perspective and a business perspective, I felt that a lot of the Japanese game makers, the big game makers, finally realized the strengths of their brands.
Mm.
So, you know, every game company like Sega, Capcom, Konami, Sony, they were really showcasing their biggest brands in a big way. The downside of that is there these days, and this is an industry wide problem, there isn't much new under the sun. A lot of like for example with Square Enix, most of their games are a reimagination, a remake, or what's the other word I'm looking remaster.
Mhm.
Uh, there isn't a lot of original IP out there. The game industry is going through a reckoning when it comes to budgets and
Mm.
how much it costs to make these titles. So they are playing it safe, but then on the other hand, it's great to see, some of these brands like Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Metal Gear, and
Mhm.
all of them front and center. So, sorry, long answer, but I definitely had a good time, and I think it was my favorite show yet.
Nice. Couple of points to that. And I always mess up the pronunciation, but did you use your prairie card?
Prairie card. Y- That's a great question. Going back to one of our first conversations,
Yeah.
I think I might have used it once,
Mm.
but that's not because it's not useful. Basically, as I probably mentioned in our last or the first time we talked about it, the Prairie Card. And for those who missed that episode, this is basically a digital business card. It's shaped like a business card, but you don't give it away. You just tap it on someone's cell phone and it transfers your data. So it's like a reusable business card that I fell in love with when I saw it at Sushi Tech. And yeah, I use it maybe once, but that's because here in Japan, it still serves as my backup business card. If I forget cards or if I run out of cards, that's when the Prairie card comes out. Maybe if I'm going abroad in a less business card
Mm.
heavy culture, then I'll lead with the Prairie card. But yeah, I think I used it once. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I mean, ideally, I think we should try to combine physical cards and this NFC card. And last time, I think you phrased it beautifully. You said, well, it's not there to replace the physical card. It should be like a backup, like an add-on
Yeah.
type of thing. So I think that makes sense
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. For,
because, yeah, so one thing with the Prairie card is, yes, you transfer your data, but then you kind of disappear from people's eyes. Like you're gone because
yes.
your physical card isn't there.
Yeah.
And so, for example, every time, so at home, I have my physical um, business cards on my desk, and next to them are all the people, clients, partners, friends cards that I have. And I don't think I have your physical card, by the way. Just
That's okay.
just letting you know.
I think we're in touch quite frequently. So yeah.
And the good thing is, the more you see a physical card, the more you get reminded of that person or that brand. And so everything else, for example, line, I forget it because I already have you in my line. So I either am in touch with you regardless of business, and then we're friends, or somehow I need to like remind myself of you and your brand,
Yeah.
and then go into line and look for your contact, and maybe you change your line name or whatever
Mm.
happens. So, but anyways, first point. Second point,
No, good
yes,
point.
the localization community, so positive.
Yeah.
And what I like about that community is if they are at capacity, they reach out and help, ask for help.
Ah,
Because there's only so much that you can do as a localizer.
okay.
You can't, maybe if you're, this is just a number, but if you're like a genius, or, if you really know what you're doing, you can take on 10 projects.
Right. Okay.
But then, even then, you will be at capacity at one point.
Mm.
And so you reach out to your friends, to other companies that you're connected with, to ask for help.
Okay.
Um, that's my experience. And yeah, by the way, shout out to Lisa. She started her own company a couple of months back.
Okay.
She's a localizer, Spanish, French, Japanese, I believe.
Okay.
But and then she's always like, tagging me on LinkedIn, tagging her friends on LinkedIn, and be like, hey, like, I'm a capacity, but like, you should do this. Yeah, pretty supportive.
Yeah, I found them because localization isn't one of my main products or services. Some clients, maybe just because they liked working with me, they basically had me localize things. It wasn't the most efficient way, but I gave it my all, and I make sure that the end result is good. But it's not one of my core skills because it takes me so long. I'm not, um, a translator by trade. If I receive, you know, roughly translated copy, I of course then that's my sweet spot where I'll make it sound natural, and localize it from that point.
Mm.
So, like you said, you mentioned that they always invite extra or look for help when they're at capacity. I just found this community very welcome and opening, or excuse me, and open. My business matching profile didn't necessarily match that of a as a or match the profile of a localizer, but they invited me to this meetup and gave me a chance to talk about what I do. So yeah, it was a very positive experience. But let me ask you something that I haven't investigated yet.
Okay.
Um, I always felt, and I got the vibe, maybe I'm spending too much time on LinkedIn, that, AI was really damaging this industry, but it seemed very vibrant. And the people that I know, they seem like they had plenty of work. So
Mhm.
have you heard of how AI has been impacting the industry? Was the threat overhyped, or we just haven't reached that point yet?
Yeah, good question. So on LinkedIn, for example, as with everything, people, and I can confidently say that they like to overhype.
Mhm.
There's a standard, there's a hype, there's overhype. And usually that overhype goes towards the more negative.
Mm.
Even with like the foreigner issue going on in Japan right now, there's like, you can always find golden nuggets in that as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yes, I've read oftentimes that AI is destroying this like um creative writing process and localization, or glocalization, by now they call it. I don't think it does.
Okay.
I think if you know how to use AI, you can speed up that process,
Okay.
be even more efficient and more productive. But when it comes to originality and crafting really like proper and meaningful content, I don't think AI can replace a human brain.
Okay. And I agree.
Yeah.
I think the challenge is there's a lot of organizations. Some organizations understand the value of trustworthy content, high quality content, creative, original content. But then there's a lot of companies out there too that they don't put thought in that, and they
Mhm.
think, oh, if AI can just translate it really quickly, that's good enough. Our product will sell itself. And so that's kind of what I was worried about. Those kinds of companies that would before have to hire, a human translator, and now they could just run it through Chat GPT.
Mhm.
Um, so do you think that means maybe game companies are being more careful about that, or they value translators and need someone they can trust?
Yes, 100%, especially game companies. Obviously, as a solo operating business, I reach out to multiple game companies
Nice.
just to try to get a client, do some. I was like, I speak German, I can do Spanish, I can do French, Turkish, whatever. It doesn't work. They, even if you can translate and localize, they want people who are experts in the gaming industry.
Mm, okay.
And so I think because of that, they got more, what's the word, like rigid in the process of like choosing the freelancers or their workers.
Okay.
And yeah, I lost a lot of deals.
Wow.
Just like even through referrals
Wow.
because I didn't have the experience in the gaming language.
Okay.
And I was like, no, like I can do research. Like my background is in academic research. I
Right.
can, all the words and phrasing. And when it comes to written linguistics, that's where my strength is.
Okay.
But even then, no chance. They want people who are experienced in gaming industry. Um, yeah.
Okay. Well, so for all the localization folks that are listening, there still seem to be some opportunities in the gaming industry. So good to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which again, have your portfolio ready,
Mhm.
like ready. Um, don't tell people like about your CV and where you worked that day. Usually, that's my experience. Maybe you've had a different experience, but they don't really care.
Yeah.
Like no one so far has asked me what university I graduated from.
Oh yeah.
That was important for my visa
Right.
in Japan. That's it.
Yeah.
No, they want to see your portfolio, the companies you have worked with or for, um, and really the deliverables,
Yes.
the outcomes.
Oh
Not
yeah.
what you did and how long you worked with the company. Everyone can just like list bullet points, and now in HR, you have the problem. So you are preparing your CV with AI.
Right. Right.
The HR system is analyzing your CV with AI.
Hmm.
So it's AI versus AI. So there's like this miscommunication happening. And if you don't use the words that the system is looking for, you're not even going to get to the HR person.
Oh yeah.
So you're just screened out even before, that person really reads your application.
Yeah.
So yeah, have your portfolio ready and then reach out to as many game companies as possible is what I would say.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, as someone who's hired creatives in a past life, the portfolio was always the most important thing. Doesn't even matter if you were paid for the work or not.
Mhm.
Basically you need to show the client that you can do what
Mhm.
they want, or maybe introduce them to something that they didn't know that
Mhm.
they wanted. And to do that, you've got to have a portfolio. It doesn't matter what you say you can do. Like you said, it doesn't matter what bullet points you put.
Mhm.
You have to, business is about solving problems, and you have to demonstrate that you can solve the company or the client's problem. So I'm with you 100%.
And maybe now talking about it, um, one question I would be interested in, or like hearing your perspective, because we talked about being extrovert and introvert. And so by now, the way I approach clients, a cold outreach, I completely stopped doing emails.
Mm.
What I do now is whenever I connect with someone on LinkedIn, again, for me, LinkedIn is my first and like most important sales tool, I
Sure.
want to say, because people are more responsive and there's like a face to the name, because you look at my name and it sounds like a scammer.
Don't say that. Gee, don't say- Oh, mercy.
So
Okay. Okay.
look, at least in the Western or Eastern market, I'm like right in between anyways.
Okay.
And so when I go like, hey, this is Osan, um, can we have a half an hour chat?
Mm.
I would like to introduce myself. What I do is I usually talk about my portfolio. And
Nice.
so I show it to them like a screen share, and then they see what I did.
Nice.
And that usually either A, leads me to a project, or B, leads me to getting a referral.
Right.
Because then people visually understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I can see, more people probably are even more confident in email communication,
Mm.
like cold outreach, for example,
Mm.
through email.
Yeah.
What do you think?
As far as making sales,
Yes,
people are more confident
yes,
in doing it
that's what I think. Yeah,
as compared to, calling someone.
yes.
Sure. Yeah. Um, I'm bad at both, so that's why I hesitate. but I think definitely email, because you don't have to see someone's face.
Mm.
You or hear their voice, excuse me.
Mm.
Emails can be automated.
Mm.
People can set up a template, and you receive these, or I receive these all the time. These just generic emails that I could tell someone just put into some program. Half the time, I don't even know where they got my email address, which is creepy off the bat. And it either says nothing about my needs or my business, or it totally misinterprets what my business does, which shows there was no attention given. So definitely, if you can just fire off things like that through email, that's going to be
Mm.
easier than, actually picking up the phone and trying to have a conversation where someone can turn you down or say something negative in real time. They're both hard, but email has all of this kind of scatter shot, just send a million things out and hope to catch one bite kind of thing to it. So but anything cold, I'm both of them are challenging for me, because I don't like sending out, hordes of generic emails. And in my opinion, and I have this debate with various people, and maybe this is something I need to research. I think if you're a boutique or premium brand, that lowers your brand image,
Yes.
in my opinion. Yet some people still swear by it too. So I don't want to give a definitive answer, but that's how I feel about my brand. I don't want Saga Consulting being associated with random, generic, annoying, scammy email campaigns. That being said, maybe I'm missing out on a lot of business because I'm not doing it that way. So that's something, honestly, I have to look into. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I talked with you about this, but recently, maybe it was you who mentioned it to me. There are companies reaching out to, creative agencies or like consulting agencies like Saga Consulting, offering you what you offer your clients.
Yeah. 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 Which to a certain level might make sense, but oftentimes it doesn't. That's true. Yeah.
So that was something just more and more that came up. At least again, my business world is around LinkedIn, and then around the people that surround me. So we um I try to keep conversation going with these people.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of business, today, Anthony, I wanted to get into the topic of, we have been solo businesses, sole proprietors for, well, me, I'm a beginner. You are doing this for many, many years now. When I'm curious as to know when is the right timing, at least in Japan, Japanese market, to switch from 個人事業主 to either 合同会社 or 株式会社 to a corporate structure. Because I'm hearing so many different opinions. I have my opinion, obviously,
Sure.
but I was curious to hear your perspective on this.
Sure. Let me start with all the disclaimers that are necessary. I am not an accountant. I outsource my accounting to a professional, as many of the listeners should. So my background is marketing and corporate training. However, as you mentioned, this is something I've been doing this long enough, almost 8 years now. It's definitely something to consider. What I have heard and what makes sense for me, well, there's a couple things you have to consider. The first thing you have to consider is what kind of business do you have? There are certain businesses, if you want to do something like import exports, or you need, if you have to deal with handling chemicals or things like that, uh, the requirements to start those businesses are going to demand a GK or KK right off the bat. So that's the first thing you have to think about. Second is your immigration status. If your visa that you have currently doesn't match the business you want to start, then you're probably going to have to automatically get a GK or a KK. Now, the third scenario is if you're like you and I, where our visa matches our work, then my understanding is it becomes, two things: a business needs decision. Do you need to
Mhm.
staff up, for example? Uh, you know, or do your clients demand that you become a GK or KK? What are the business needs? I always lead my business decisions based on the needs of my business. I,
Mhm.
I don't have these dreams of becoming the next Jeff Bezos or
Mhm.
Elon Musk or anything. I'm not trying to create some business empire just for the sake of doing that. If that's what you want to do, or that's what people want to do, more power to them. I'm just trying to make, help people
Mhm.
and make a decent living while doing that, which means how I shape my business is based on how what I need to do to achieve those goals. And so far, as a digital marketer, as a corporate trainer, that hasn't been necessary. So, first thing you have to consider are your business needs. But then there is a financial component, and this is where my knowledge isn't the best. But at some point, and this is what tax experts have told me, if you're consistently earning a certain income level, it's going to be more advantageous from a taxation
Mhm.
perspective to switch over to a GK or KK as well. Uh, I I think that should probably be a consistent revenue level or profit, because then if let's say you reach 10 million yen one year, and then you have a bad year and you fall behind that, then you're going to have all kinds of drama as well. But that's what I heard, is if you're consistently reaching an income that's putting you in a super high um, sole proprietor tax
Mhm.
bracket, then you want to consider incorporating and dealing with consistent corporate taxes.
Mhm.
But again, not my specialty, but that's what I've learned so far.
And what do you think about the whole, social perception of the whole, freelance versus sole proprietor versus company in Japan?
Yeah, that was a lot of, uh, at least back when I started, a lot of people felt that no one would pay you any
Mhm.
respect if you weren't KK or GK, and I'm pretty sure that was the case before the internet,
Mhm.
and before it was, back in the day, 80s, 90s, it was really hard to start a business. But I think Japan has become pretty comfortable with the concept of a sole proprietor.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't let that hold anyone back. As far as I'm aware, I haven't lost any business because of that. Of course, you never know. Maybe a client secretly is saying, "Oh, they're not incorporated. I don't want to deal with it." But it's no secret that I've worked with some of the largest brands in Japan and in the globe,
Mhm.
and they're totally okay with me being a sole proprietor. I'm in their invoice system. So the most important thing is, can you deliver what
Mhm.
they want? So that being said, you mentioned two terms, freelancer
Mhm.
and sole proprietor. On the books, they're essentially the same thing. So I think it is important, um, from a branding perspective and a systems perspective, to consider how you're going to operate your business.
Mhm.
So I like to call myself a sole proprietor because I've established a brand.
Mm.
I have systems in place. I outsource things. I hire contractors. So it's, I function as a business where, a freelancer, for example, writer, for example, who just writes, they might not need to do all of that. And they just make themselves available as someone who writes about, whatever their specialty is. That's fine as well, too. But if you are aiming for larger corporate clients, I think it does help to establish a brand, have systems in place, and establish yourself as a sole proprietor.
Mhm.
All that being said, I have heard of situations, not with me, but other former sole proprietors where a company has basically forced them to incorporate,
Mhm.
or else they couldn't get the
Mhm.
job. The good news is usually if that happens, it means the job is so big and there's so much money involved that it's going to be in your best interest
Mhm.
to incorporate. So that goes back to your previous question, whether or not you should incorporate. If something huge comes in that can build your business, then of course, go for it. So that's what I've learned so far. Any thoughts? How about yourself?
Yeah, look, it was pretty interesting on my side because so right now I work with part of the government, which I think you know.
Nice. Yes, yes,
Um,
very nice.
one deal that was a foreign luxury hotel.
Ooh, okay,
It's actually it's a Swiss hotel chain in
nice,
Japan.
nice.
I lost that deal because when I went to the second meeting, so the first one was with the GM, second one was with the division head of marketing or something. Like
Okay,
she was like the head of marketing basically.
okay,
And so I prepared like the proposal. I scripted out the whole um, scenario of the like video production. I was like, let's do it like this, let's do that. And the answer was, we don't work with sole proprietors.
ouch.
And I was like, well, if that's company policy, I understand. There's nothing I can do. Only a couple of months after to find out that they kind of took that proposal, and I can say like comfortably on camera and microphone too, um, and they worked with a freelancer. They put it on LinkedIn. They say, "Hey, we worked with this guy and did that." And I don't know if it was an excuse or if they wanted to hire a Japanese person because that person was a Japanese person. If everything in the books maybe made more sense, I really don't know.
Wow.
But yeah, that happened. So I think you know anything can happen, um,
Yeah.
regardless of your status.
Yeah.
And I hired one person last no um this year to do a um photography project
Okay.
for Japanese kitchen tools,
Okay.
basically kitchenware.
Okay.
And he has still his Yugen Gaisha.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So for the listeners, the Yugen Gaisha back then
Mm,
is what we know today kind of as Godo Gaisha. So it's a GK, but like usually one person operated um company. So he still has that. And I talked with him and he told me, especially KKs,
mhm.
if they need like a trusted source of like photography service or like a really specific niche or niche, I guess, um, then actually being a sole proprietor is to your advantage.
Oh
They
wow.
don't have to pay much
Wow.
because you're one person company,
Mm.
but you still deliver quality. And yeah, I think that was the purpose of Yugi and Aisha back in the days.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Okay.
So yeah, that's my experience. But yeah, I don't believe in this. You need to have a corporate entity to make business with people. It's either you know how to sell your services and yourself.
Yeah.
It's first people first.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. Saga Consulting could be the biggest KK, and I could be just a freelancer. And I'm pretty sure if you like me, you would still hire me for a project.
Yeah.
And if you, well, not only like, but like in terms of like the deliverables and quality of the work I provide, I don't see a reason not to hire a freelancer for that.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
fact, sometimes it's even easier because you don't have to think about all the shakai hoken, all the
Mhm.
insurance stuff. So pros and cons, as with everything.
Yeah. That being said, I do want to add a asterisk
Please.
to that. Um, I agree with you that it really is. Are you kind of going back to our previous conversation? Are you delivering the goods? Are you delivering what is wanted? That's the most important thing. What I do find, and I still don't think this is related to whether or not you are a KK or a sole proprietor. I do, at least in Japan, however, I do run up into obstacles about being an unknown entity in the system.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we make the best product or offer the best services, if we're not in a company's orbit or network, if we're a new person trying to get in, companies all the time, they will choose something lower quality or higher price because they are in network. So I do think that's a factor. I want to be clear for anyone listening who might want to do business here. You definitely always have to have the best, but at least in Japan too, um, you've got to have the network to go along with it, someone to vouch for you. And I remember you. I love this conversation you always bring up, where you say, in other countries, other cultures, if you have a great product, all you have to do is go around, knock on doors,
Yeah.
go into businesses, maybe offer a free trial, and they'll at least give you a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that holds in Japan. You could have the most amazing thing and approach a company, but if you're an unknown, despite how beautiful the solution is, and despite your portfolio, if you're not in that circle, you're an untrustworthy entity. Goodbye. So I do want to add that corollary to what you said.
Mm-hmm. And also, I think that's why it's so important to, one, speak Japanese.
Yes. Yeah.
Two, at least if it's not business, at least try to go out with Japanese business people.
Yeah.
Because, man, if they like you, they will refer you. They will try to just, you're always in their mind because you're going to be the foreign person who speaks Japanese, who can speak English, and who can do business.
Right.
And so, for something that their company might be looking for, you will always be one of the first um, people that comes to their mind. That being said, it needs to be the right person, like
Yes.
the right Japanese person.
Yeah.
They need to be, open-minded, maybe having lived abroad in the States or in Europe. I've met one that was, do you know the brand Mammut?
Yeah, the
Mammoth, basically.
outdoor
Exactly.
equipment stuff. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Swiss company.
Okay, nice, nice.
And I think Swiss company. Fact check.
Okay.
So, um, I met this guy on the plane
Nice.
last year, 2023, the year when I flew back and forth Zurich 4 times in like a row.
Right.
And he was so chill. He didn't really speak English that well,
Okay.
but he was like, "Yeah, this is my business card. Like, text me." Store in, I think their HQ is near Shinjuku or in Shinjuku. I might
Okay.
be wrong. We met up. He invited me to the office. That's pretty cool. No
Nice.
deal out of it because no need. But even that, me, a foreign person, getting invited to that office full of Japanese people, they're welcoming. Um, I think that's really important for especially for young people.
Yeah,
Eh,
yeah.
yes, creative, entrepreneur, real events are important,
Yes. Yeah.
Networking events are great, but step out of the comfort zone. Look for these Japanese events. Um, there's a company in Japan called Selective.
Yeah, I'm aware of them. Yeah, yeah.
They're a pretty good source because they
Okay.
work mainly with Japanese companies. They
Okay.
mainly hire, maybe even only hire Japanese speaking freelancers.
Wow.
So there's a huge opportunity. And I understand that if your Japanese level isn't that great, I mean, you and I, we are both still to this day learning Japanese.
That's right.
Um, by the way, you're a huge role model to me. Because I know your like schedule and the way you learn. And so thanks for that. Just a
I
side
think
note.
you learned a lot faster than me, by the way. I think we need to reverse this. But thank you. Thank you. But no, I think we need to flip that.
And so it really helps stepping out of the comfort zone and be like, look, my Japanese is broken, but I try my best
Yeah.
and I still go there and I still try to talk in Japanese, get those cards, follow up with an email, maybe follow up with a coffee in
Yeah.
like next month. Um, I don't know, that has helped me and opened some doors that I'm still like kind of in,
Yeah.
um, not fully through the door, but I'm still in.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that's, sorry, I talked way too long, but
No.
just to say, young people coming to Japan, that's really important.
Yeah, and I want to back you up and stress that what you just proposed is the solution to what I was saying. I said there's a network, there's an orbit you
Mhm.
have to enter, and your what you just proposed is how you get into that orbit. That I've had the same thing that happened to me. My biggest, most exciting, most amazing
Mhm.
projects and clients I could never have imagined, they happened just through physical networking events and keeping in touch with these key people. And then eventually their knowledge of me overlapped with a pain point in their company. And the next thing I know, I'm doing things I never could have imagined. So, and this is where a lot of people fall flat, get frustrated, give up. That takes time. That could take 2 to 3 years
Mhm.
of relationship building, of getting into that
Mhm.
circle as well. And a lot of people just aren't, understandably so, they're not ready to or they're not prepared that it will take that long. That's an incredibly long
Mhm.
sales cycle. But at the same time, I kind of understand it as an introvert. That's kind of what it's like getting to know me as a person. It takes a long time before we open up. So in a way, I get it. But for people who are eager to do business, that can be frustrating. But that's how it is in Japan. You know.
Mhm. And maybe here we can circle back to our one of our first conversations
Sure.
where um as starting out as a freelancer and then going from freelance to sole proprietor and maybe even to starting your own company, young people, keep your day job.
Yes. Yeah.
Keep your full-time job that is so miserable that you don't want to wake up on Monday morning, go to work. Keep that because while doing that, and you can explain this better, Anthony, but while working at your job for a company, one, you're getting paid
Right.
constantly. You don't have to look for new projects and clients. You don't have to worry about, hey, is there money coming in next month?
Right.
Because that's the hardest part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And two, and this is kind of like what I realized by listening to you, while working your day job, you are learning more about the work that people already are paying you for.
Hmm.
So you get better at doing something that there's demand in the market for.
Hmm.
Like there's no better time to work on your own portfolio um, because money is coming in, you're getting better, so you can explore. You can try on, taking on smaller projects, build up your portfolio, put everything together in a PDF or a Notion file or put it on LinkedIn, put it out there. And then once you are ready, once you're changing countries or jobs, or you want to step, you know, away from your day job and want to establish yourself as a business, that's going to help you so much and accelerate everything by heaps.
Oh yeah, yeah. And to make it a little bit easier for those, or for people to digest this challenge, because you and I, we know what it's like. We, you know, for better or worse, our heart is in entrepreneurship.
Mm.
We're not for the corporate life. Bless all of those who are, and I get it.
Yes.
There's definitely appeals to that, but please understand, there's some people who just can't deal with that. So I get how hard it can be if you're like that, to keep working for a company. So if I can make that advice even easier, when we say stay at your company while you build your business or come up with ideas, that doesn't mean stay at a toxic company that's causing you mental stress. That doesn't mean stay at a company that is not giving you opportunities to learn and grow. Keep moving to the companies that treat you well, that give you room to experiment, that give you opportunity to grow, and treat you with respect. Um, and that's how you really learn. Because if you stay in a toxic company, a company that puts a glass ceiling over your head where you're not learning and you're not growing, then that defeats the purpose. So just to make that advice easier to do, make sure it doesn't mean stay at one company. It means grow, earn money, learn, experiment, get your business ideas while you're working full time. And nowadays, I'm not sure if you want to go into today, but I think in Japan, with these changes to the business manager visa,
Mhm.
this advice that you brought up is going to become even more important if you are a foreigner here in Japan
Mhm.
and you want to start a business.
Mhm.
It is now much harder to do so. But if you can stay at a company for a certain amount of years, if you can improve your Japanese skills
Mhm.
to get points towards a permanent residency,
Mhm.
then you're not going to have to worry about these new regulations that the government is throwing at small businesses run by foreigners.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you want to get into that today, but that's one of the things I've been thinking about that relates to this advice.
No, thanks for mentioning that. I mean, look, so many. Have you seen my post?
I have, absolutely.
A lot of people complained about the changes, right? Because
Mhm.
now they're official as of yesterday, October 16th.
That's right.
To 90%, I do have to disagree.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why I mentioned this is not my opinion, but here's a summary of what's happening.
Hmm.
Because if you think from a very rational point of view, the changes make sense for both sides,
Yeah.
for Japanese government, but also for you as a citizen who wants to live in Japan long term.
Right.
This is all for a long term residential purpose, I want to say. Yes, the financial aspect, that's the part where I personally disagree with the government,
Mm.
because it's really hard for a young person, even for a senior consultant, to have that much money um, to invest in a business.
Yeah.
Yes, you can invest it and then use it for, to pay your rent, pay your life, maybe buy a house. We just, prior to recording, we talked about down payment and buying a house in Japan. So that part I can understand. Maybe there are some businesses that just want to, at least in the beginning, um, operate in a very financially humble way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the rest, like hiring Japanese people, yes, you're gonna do good to the local economy, like local people. You're supporting Japanese people,
Right.
and so you have to hire a Japanese national, or a naturalized Japanese, or
Right.
a permanent resident.
Right.
So those three categories, they are permanent residents to Japan.
Yeah.
So it only makes sense because you're going to support just local production, basically.
Yeah.
You're hiring people, you're paying for them for their insurances and everything.
Right.
Japanese, you're opening a business in Japan. You should at least be able to speak Japanese to the level where you can sort out documentation or like banking stuff, and like
Mhm.
at least pick up the phone and be like, yes, this is me.
Mhm.
Yes, it's my account. Yes, I applied for the opening. Um, go to all the homekyoku, zeimsho, do everything by yourself. Even if you can't do it by yourself because of time, it's going to help you communicate with lawyers, with
Mhm.
tax accountants, just like with local staff.
Yeah.
Um, business plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, you should have a business plan if you want to operate a long term.
Right. Right.
Like I just see, and this is me being very, the news came out a week ago.
Yeah.
So it's been 7 days or 10 days even. A lot of time has passed to digest the news,
Yeah.
to see it less from an emotional point of view, more from a rational point of view. And like 90% of the changes make sense.
Yeah.
Plus, on top of that, from a government perspective, if you are not contributing to the local economy,
Mhm.
at least financially, why are you starting a business in Japan?
Mm. Mm.
You know, if you want to operate remotely from, let's say, we talked about Aichi, right?
Mm. Mhm.
Say you want to have a digital marketing business from Aichi just to sustain um, your level, and you buy Akia, you live remotely, you have your peace. I can understand that from a personal point of view,
Mhm.
because we individuals, we look for nature and peace, and a lot of us don't want to be in corporate life and
Right.
and Tokyo concrete jungle.
Yeah.
From a government perspective, that doesn't make sense.
Mm. Mm.
you know um so yeah, many points, benefits and pros and cons,
Yeah.
but yeah, stuff is changing in Japan. And yes, what we talked prior to this certainly helps in deciding whether you should establish your company in Japan or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, a lot of thoughts. Just that topic is like
Yeah.
talk for ages.
Yeah, definitely. I want to bounce some ideas off because we
Please,
haven't had a
please.
chance to talk about
That's
this
right.
really. And to put a disclaimer out there, I haven't looked at it too deeply because it's not my path.
Mm.
Even before I had a spouse visa or something that enables me to do any kind of work or start any kind of business. Even before then, my visa matched my business, the humanities and engineering. So during that time when I was exploring different visa options, even the old business manager visa made no sense
Mm.
whatsoever to me. So it was off the table. So I
Yep.
haven't thought about it too much, but a few things looking at the requirements,
Mhm.
it gives me questions. So the stated purpose of all these requirements and
Mm.
the price increase is to crack down on fraudulent
Yes.
businesses, people abusing it to just live here. I think if that was the real goal, then only one of those new requirements is necessary, and that would be kind of the business plan check to make
Yes.
sure it's not a shell company or something like that. Um, that's really probably the only change I truly get behind,
Mhm.
because if the government just wants more money, then say that,
Mhm.
and they have a case for that too, because neighboring countries have about the same
Mhm.
amount
Yeah.
of money you have to pay.
Like Korea and stuff, right?
Right, right,
Mhm.
right. So that's fine. Maybe that's fine too, but let's be honest about that. Say, hey, we have a huge deficit. We need money. Fine. If someone tells me the reason they're doing something and their actions match,
Mhm.
consistency, authenticity, that's fine. But they didn't say that. So under what they are saying, I think just a business plan check is the only thing needed. And here's why. I think throwing up all of these regulations, it encourages poor business practices,
Mhm.
which means uh bloating your business with things that you don't need. A lot of people don't need an office these days.
Mhm.
a lot of people in the beginning don't need two employees or an
Yes.
employer or whatever. And it pressures people to failure. Maybe they really want to come in Japan, they get all of these things, and next thing they're underwater, they're in debt, and they just crash and burn. Or it encourages bad business. And who knows where that might lead to.
Mm.
So that's one thing that I'm kind of concerned about
Mhm.
with the visa. Now, I do appreciate, and every country does this, so it's not fair to single out Japan. Every country, when a business comes in, the goal is to get local workers and invest, foreign direct investment in the economy. However, just even a sole proprietor working by themselves, if they're making decent money, number one, there's a business tax that comes into play that you and I pay. So right off the bat, just by doing commerce, you pay a special business
Mhm.
tax. So the government's getting money right there. Additionally, you are paying your residence tax.
Mhm.
Money's coming in right there. You're paying your medical and insurance,
Yep.
your pension. So you're contributing all of that. And let's not forget the importance of being a consumer. You
Yep.
you're buying things, you're participating in the economy, and last time I checked, the government's taking 10% of that,
Mm.
and that's been
Yeah.
increasing over the years. So it's important to remember that if you're coming in and starting a business, you're not a freeloader.
Mm.
You're engaging in the economy, and this economy, like many others around the world, is powered by consumption. So that's kind of why, yeah, I think the only real
Mhm.
requirement, if the goal is to prevent fraud, is just checking
Mhm.
the business plan better.
Mhm.
You know, but again, for people who are already living here and your visa matches what you do, I think even the old system was a horrible path anyway.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So to connect it with our previous point, I think now the best thing to do is if you can work for a company
Yep.
uh, for enough years, get your Japanese level up.
Mm.
You have a couple of paths to a permanent residency, get that, and then all of these pesky rules go away. You can just start your business as any Japanese person would. Um, if you have a lot of money and you're just itching to start a business, I don't think these increases will bother you too much if you're super
Mhm.
rich. I think the people that are going to get hurt are the people that started under the old system
Mhm.
and now have all of this incredible pressure. And again, that goes back to my point of this new scheme
Mhm.
is encouraging poor business practices. It's anti-business. It's taking, we've come so far in our ability to start a business, which has been, I think, an amazing development in recent years.
Mhm.
Back in the 80s, you had to do all kinds of in-person things to start a business. And it was just so hard. But
Mhm.
now you can start a business online real quickly. And most people consider that a good thing, where this is kind of a setback for that. And it's harmful for the small businesses that maybe they need more than 3 years to get their business going. A lot of
Mhm.
businesses can't pick up until 10 years. So it's that demographic I think is going to be hurt. So sorry, long rant, but um, that's kind of where I am at this point with the disclaimer. I haven't looked
Mhm.
into it too deeply because either way, it wouldn't be the path that I choose.
Mhm.
No.
No, it's very interesting, and I think even say you are a really good consultant, you have your own boutique consulting agency. Even then, it's really hard, I think, to maintain the what is it, 30 million yen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
in Germany and Switzerland, yes, these numbers are maybe rookie numbers, as a consultant,
Yeah.
because you can bill more. Um, like I know by experience how much companies pay you to be a consultant.
Yeah.
Crazy to me. Like those numbers, I will never understand. Um,
Maybe one day.
maybe,
Maybe. Let's be positive.
but yeah, in Japan, that's one. And two, this is something I learned. I had this online discussion on LinkedIn with a Japanese PR lady when before the changes were finalized. So that was in either August or September. So the second round when they um, wrote the PR about this, she was like, "It is going to change. These are the new rules."
Okay.
And I was kind of like, "Hey, like, don't distribute panic, because nothing is set yet.
Right.
Like, even yes, it goes into that direction, but it's not finalized,
Yeah.
right?" Um, and so one thing I learned is she was like, "You are not Japanese. You don't know how Japanese PR works.
Mm.
The way it works is PR gets released just to see how people react.
Uh,
And so we call this a leak,
leak. Yeah. Yeah.
right?"
Yeah. Mm.
And so, um, and back in August, I was like, well, okay, I did write some Japanese PR,
Mhm.
did write a lot of foreign PR. And the only thing that I didn't understand was if that was the case, why would there be like an open um, comment section to give feedback
Right.
to the government?
They did have that. Right.
Yep.
Right.
I don't know what happened to that. Um,
Ah. I mean, I could theorize. It's such a small amount of people who,
mhm,
first, it's unfortunate, but this affects a very, very small amount of people,
mhm,
looking at the population of Japan. And then how many people within that small population, made comments or stood up for us. I mean, even these days, even domestic small businesses are getting kind of swept under the rug.
yeah.
It's all about the big corporates. So let alone foreign ones. So yeah, I can maybe that was just some kind of lip service or something.
Mhm,
um, but I can imagine I can definitely imagine why it failed.
mm.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that's one thing I learned about this Riku,
yeah.
because I was like, no, there's no way, like it can't be that easy. You're just putting a PR out there and just kind of like a bait to see how people react. Um, so yeah, stuff is changing in Japan,
Yeah.
but I think you mentioned something really important. If you want to start your business, um, and yes, these new requirements may rule out first time technical founders,
Mm,
but get a job, um, work there at least 3 years, maybe even 5 years if your age and time allows. Work on your Japanese,
hmm.
because all of that, I see that as an investment.
Absolutely.
And for example, this is something I really regret not doing. I didn't invest in a corporate job in Japan at not even for 2 years.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
I came here when I was 26.
yeah.
Anthony, if I hadn't invested 2 years until last year, say in a Japanese HR job
Right,
or Japanese real estate, it's 2 years. It's going to pass by anyways.
right. Mm,
I would have learned so much about myself, about business practices, Japanese network,
yeah,
would have expanded my Japanese network,
yeah.
up, leveled up my Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
keigo and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm pretty sure, and I know you are, Saga Consulting is looking for a salesperson as well.
Mm-hmm.
Even in that case, I would have been able to help you and many more clients
Yeah.
in a more efficient, faster way and get your clients to all the sales pitches in Japanese that I can't do right now. So, young people listening to this, please, if that's your goal to start your business or live in Japan long term, like hands down, get yourself a corporate job. Um, Preferably not at a black company,
Right.
but you can only learn.
Yeah.
You can only learn. It's 2 years. Life is pretty, um, what is it? Sumiyasu in Japan.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to say easy to live, but
Well, yeah,
but smooth.
that's, yes. You
Yeah.
don't need much
Comfort.
money,
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
At least for the first 2 years.
Yeah.
If you don't have family, if you're a single guy, single girl, lady, um, 2 years is all it takes, I would claim.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that, and I was able to connect the dots. And again, you're saying so many things I agree with, and I want to make it an easier pill
Thank
for
you.
to make your advice an easier pill to swallow for people. One of the best pieces of advice I got about just being a professional in Japan, and there's an interview with Kuroda-san on my blog and on
Mhm,
LinkedIn. Um, and she ran an organization that trained foreigners to integrate into Japanese society, not language, but culturally,
mhm,
so they could work at a high-end department store or a high-end hotel and deliver the same level of service and culture. And she said you have to learn the local rules before you can start to bend or break the rules, because a lot of people, they'll come here and they want to do things their way. They want to immediately start contributing, and I get that. We all want to contribute, make a difference, share our international ideas.
mhm,
But she said, she made a very powerful point. Before you can do that, you have to earn a degree of trust, and you have to show a degree of respect for how things are done. And to do that, you have to learn the Japanese way first, and then maybe you can start suggesting ideas and doing things a little
mhm,
differently. And I believe that transfers to the advice we've been talking about. Basically, even though the startup scene has grown,
mhm,
this is still a country of doing a 9 to 5 or 7 to 10 job as a salary person for a big company. This is still a country
mhm,
dominated by corporates. Corporates are intermingled with the government. They call the shots. They get all the benefits, the support. So if you follow the advice and you extend that to your career and starting a business, doing things the Japanese way is working a job and working for the company. And as you mentioned, while you're doing that, you're learning the Japanese way about everything: sales, marketing, HR, language, behavior. And then after you master that, it's going to be easier to start your business,
mhm,
and do your thing after. So I think this parallels with that advice. It's
mhm.
not only just for your behavior or for working at a hotel or something like that, but we can bring it out to the macro level and say it's a path to starting a business. Do things, live life the Japanese way for a while. Make sure you understand and master that, and then you can start to bend the rules and do what you want to do. So I wanted to back up what you were saying with that. Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. Nothing to add to this. I think that was a pretty good recap.
Okay.
Thanks for backing me up. Thanks for making everything clear. Um, I would look. You see my fire for these topics. I would love to talk more, but we are running out of time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I do have to keep time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Time flies when we get into these
Yep.
conversations. Gee. Okay.
Um, I mean, look, what is it? Once a month right now that we're meeting up in Odawara.
In Odawara, yeah.
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 Shout out, by the way, to Aruyo.
Yes.
Great co-working office. Thanks for having me, Anthony. Great staff. So if you guys are in town in Odawara, are looking for a co-working space, it's a Aruyo.
Right.
And yeah, I do need to wrap up. But as you know, you and I, we always luckily have stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, any last thoughts or words before we wrap up?
I just want to say again, it's been fun. I hope we can continue to do this. Like you said,
Mm.
there's an endless sea of topics. And yeah, I'd just like to tell the audience if there's anything you want to hear our perspective on, or if there's something you want us to look into, let us know. Yeah.
Sweet. Anthony, thanks. It was fun. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you, Ozan.
Audience, have a great weekend and talk to you soon.